Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. 22 female, love my grandmother, 70, with all my heart, but she is very difficult to live with. She moved in around 6 years ago due to a hurricane that damaged her roof. She was only supposed to stay in a couple of months because we were trying to fix her roof, but also she had to get some kind of surgery for her arm. We were understanding and we just didn't want her to stay alone in her now damaged house while healing from surgery, so we had no problem with her being here. At first, within the first few days of surgery was acting sickly, constantly need help with this or that, but whenever family came over and all the attention was on her, talking to her about things she likes. She's no longer sick or fragile. She's running up and down the stairs, showing off everything she bought. She forgot she was a frail old lady. She only came here with a basket of clothes and a suitcase. We thought she came with the suitcase because she travels a lot because she's singer and tours from time to time. Looking back at that now, she was probably plotting to move in with us. When she first moved in, my brother wasn't here, so she got to stay in his bedroom. It didn't take much time for the room to get kind of stuffy because she loves shopping and buying things, especially things she doesn't need at all. That huge room, and for her to take up so much room within a month, was just crazy. Another weird thing is that she'll buy a whole set outfit and only wear it once to her performance. So try to imagine how much clothes were stuffed in my brother's closet. Now try to imagine her buying more clothes, so now she has to put in my closet. Now try to imagine within the span of her career as a performer all the clothes and shoes she bought, all in her house, in single room of her house, that for some reason she never wants to touch or wear again. But she refused to get rid of even though she completely abandoned her house. Now imagine her buying a storage garage just to fill up with more useless things that she's never going to look at again. A couple of months later, my brother wants to move in. She's pissed and asked my mother why is her own grandson moving back into his childhood home, and then asked her, my mom, where she's supposed to stay. My mom basically told her she can go back home since her arm healed, and she came back from her tour, so she should have enough money to fix the roof. She said a couple of $100s from her tour and can't afford to move back. Complete lies. So she asked if she could move into my mother's personal room. My mom has 2 rooms, her bedroom, that she shares with my dad, and her hobby room. She barely slept in her bedroom, so that hobby room was her personal room. She did everything in that room. She ran a personal blog for her clothing that she crafted herself. She did makeup tutorials, she made beautiful wigs, etc. She was basically a content creator while also being a hairstylist. She needed that room for work and content. My grandmother knew all these things and insisted on moving in that room, so my mom, reluctantly, let her move in there. My mother is now miserable and is frustrated because of this. She's basically put her life on pause because Granny won't move out of that room and it looks horrendous in there, and I swear there is a rotting odor in that room now. I can't explain everything that happened in the past 6 years, but I'll try some of the things my grandmother does that makes everyone hate living with her as best as I can. My mom's room was pretty spacey. So when my grandmother moved there, she did what she does best. She hoards. We can't even fit in that room anymore. There's only a small space to walk in and out of. There's some weird rotting smell in that room, but I think it's either from piles of clothes or the fact that my grandmother showers only once a month. I counted, so I'm not exaggerating. We can all tell when she's showering because of weird noise she makes in there. She blows up that damn restroom. Imagine a quiet, peaceful night and you're about to fall asleep when suddenly you hear Rack City by Tyga inches away from your bedroom, in the restroom. Mind you, your bedroom is in front of the restroom, so you have to hear a 70-year-old woman hit it and crap in there. That's what I'm dealing with. Or how about whenever someone is done cooking? Normally in this household, we have to let each know when we're done cooking or else we just have no clue. But you have someone who listens to every single sound or movement, know when you're done cooking before you ever tell anybody. Then proceeds to eat most of the dinner. Now we barely cook because someone keeps hoarding all the food. Not only that, but when they do cook, they cook for themselves only. Ever had a roommate that listens to your every move? Listen to every conversation you've had in the privacy of your own room. That's my grandmother. She tries so hard to avoid my mom because my mom keeps to discuss with her about when and how she'll be moving out. My parents' bedroom is right next to the room my grandmother's in now. She listens to possibly everything they say and do in there. Everything. She knows when my mother is moving around. She knows when we are with our mother and talking to her about whatever. I'll never forget how we complained about how Grandma eats all the food and cooks for no one but herself. How we were tired and felt so uncomfortable around Grandma. The next day she cooks again, but surprised, she actually made us something. It's 4 fish patties and like 2 French fries. It's a pattern too. I know she hears us complaining because the next day she'll order pizza or something. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a peephole in my parents' bedroom. Also, let me add, we don't care about her cooking for us. We always appreciate it. It's just we notice that she's really selfish about it. God forbid we go out to eat too. If we come back home with food for ourselves, she complain and say we're treating her like crap. Don't ever mention fixing up her house. Don't mention moving her back into her house because I promise you will wish you didn't. There's a range of things she'll do. The first few times we tried to talk to her about the house, she would just complain about how she doesn't have the money. When she tours, she's not making much money, and how she's basically being paid pennies to perform. Except that's not true because when we do go to see her perform and she is done with her gig, she gets paid. Usually about $2,000 or more per performance, so imagine when she goes on a month-long tour. She'll brag about it on Facebook about how much she's getting paid and where she's going. So we know it's really not about the money. Then, during my freshman year in college, crap got more drastic. Now, every time my mom mentions a house, suddenly my grandma is all ill and can't walk and needs to be pampered and taken care of. She had a pinched nerve in her back but acted like she got shot or something. Every time I would leave my room, she moaned super loud. So when I tried to use the restroom, she would moan loud like she needed help. Then I stay in the restroom, and then she goes quiet. Then I walk back to my room. She starts moaning loud again. Then I stay in my room for a second, and she's quiet, dead silent. She was faking it. I started to ignore her because I knew she didn't help. Then she gets up, walks to my mom's room to talk to her. My mom plays dead because she don't want to deal with her either. Granny sees my mom is asleep. Then magically my grandmother straightens up her back and dashes to restroom as if nothing was wrong with her. She still does this every time we try to talk her about the house or about moving out. Suddenly her back hurts and she can't move. Then she'll call the ear and comes back home the same day because nothing is actually wrong with her. I know you're probably wondering why not move into an apartment. She's Ms. Rich Witch, so why not tell her to move into an apartment? We tried. It didn't work. Actually, she was the one that kept insisting to move into an apartment since she knew we wanted her out of the house. She said that in an argument with my mom, and my mom actually took her to go shopping around for apartments the next day. Granny just had to double it, I guess, because as soon they found the nearest apartments. Grandma said she needs to go to the ER. She think her blood pressure rising. So full of crap. So now you're wondering, why not get her to move in with someone else? We tried that too. We regret that so much. Grandma, finally, contacted my uncle because suddenly she gives a crap about her only great-grandchild. She spends the whole day there, then comes back home with some bull crap. She told our uncle that she was getting mistreated and that my mom going to kick her out and leave out in the streets. My uncle, for some reason, believes despite knowing how narcissistic she is and starts a whole argument with my mom. My mom explains to my uncle what is actually happening, and he's dumbfounded to find out his mother is doing what she does best. Then he offers to my grandmother a room in his house if she ever leaves ours. My grandmother later refused because there isn't a nearby airport and nowhere she can shop at. We are all somehow still dumbfounded at her consistent, self-centered, narcissistic, and self-serving personality. That wasn't even the only time she went around accusing us of mistreating her. When the ER came to our house during one of her fake episodes, she told one of the people taking her to the hospital that she was so sick and she hasn't eaten in days. She said, "We were all about to crap ourselves." My butt was starting to hurt from how tight I clenching it. We just couldn't believe she would say that. We were cooking for her, heating up soups for her, buying electrolyte water for her. We were taking full care of her, and that's what she decided to do. Throw us under the bus for no reason. Luckily, nothing happened after that, but she still does from time to time complain to someone that we're trying to throw her out to the streets. She loves playing a victim. Unsurprisingly, she also wasn't a good mother to both her children and pets. The best way I can describe her relationship with my mom is pretty much that movie Mommy Dearest, because she treated her daughter like crap when my mother was a child. My grandmother always made sure she had the best clothes, shoes, and hairdos while her children struggled constantly. She abused my mother the most. She would find any reason to hurt her. As my mother got older and my grandma got none the wiser, my grandmother was expecting everyone to treat her like a celebrity. She's still like this. She thinks she paid her dues and believes, now that she is fully entitled to live here with us, despite everyone wanting her out. She fully expects everyone to take care of her, even if she mistreats them. For pets, I don't even understand. She'll get a pet, takes care of it for a while. Pets grows old. Granny now hates Pete and wants it to die. Why even own one if you're going to be like that? Her last dog also lived with us until Her pet dog passed away. She despised that dog. She literally wanted that dog to die. The first time her dog was sick, she did absolutely nothing to help it. We had to take care of her dog because she wouldn't. Turns out it had a treatable infection and it was taken care of. She just went back to resenting her dog. We get a new dog and Grandma just grew to resent her dog even more. We pretty much cared for her pet dog until she unfortunately passed. Grandma didn't really care and was basically being theatrical with her grief. Just the worst. When her pet was alive and we had our own pet dog, she would try and take care of our dog while completely alienating her own. She's just awful. She insults everyone and is extremely bigoted. She loves degrading others over their appearance while not looking too good herself. She loves making fun of overweight people, despite gaining over 50 pounds within a few years. She also forgot her grandchildren are also pretty overweight ourselves. She'll smile and call me pretty and my brother handsome, but she'll insult her other 2 grandchildren who don't have to deal with her. Hi, I hope this story entertains everyone, and I've gained inspiration to tell this story from Redditor. So, for context, I have a set of twin brothers who are almost 10 years younger than me. I am a 16-year-old male living in the U.S., and every year my family, I, and sometimes my grandmas go to a pumpkin patch that doubles as an apple orchard, and you can go to 3 different areas. One being the main farm, one being where the corn maze is, and one where you pick out your pumpkins. There's also a little train ride that my brothers love, along with my 1-year-old baby brother. Anyways, on to the story. The cast is as followed: EK, entitled Kid. EM, entitled Mom. Dad, my dad. So this happened around 4 months ago. It's the height of picking pumpkins for Thanksgiving and your Halloween. In the main farm area of the pumpkin patch, there is a whole bunch of things for kids to do. This particular story happens in a giant sand pit, and my brothers and parents had already been there longer than us due to me and my grandma watching American football. Not soccer, don't get confused, as I am a huge football fan and play it. So we had to leave later because there was an early game being played in London and England or Munich in Germany. Note most football games are played between 12:00 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. This game was being played at 8:30 a.m. This game was being played at 8:30 a.m., and it was a team I wanted to lose playing someone I wanted to win. So when me and my grandma arrive to the pumpkin patch and we get in, I get a call from my dad saying to meet them over at the sand pit box, whatever you want to call it. When we get there, my little brothers are working on a really nice tunnel. Not part of the story, I was just proud of them. And they were using 3 toys in total to build it. So I go over and grab a toy bulldozer because my brothers wanted to play with me, and I happily agree since when I was little, my older half-brother would do the same, and I like playing with toy machinery. So fast forward half an hour to an hour, and me and my brothers are playing with the toys, and the following interaction ensues. And all names are fate. Jack, I'm going to get a drink of water. I'll be right back. Can you make sure someone doesn't take my bulldozer? Me, sure, just be quick. So he runs over to get a drink of water, and not even 5 seconds later, I notice a kid playing with the toy Jack was playing with. So with my best friendly smile and little kid voice, I ask him the following question. Me, hey, my little brother is playing with this, and he's just getting a drink of water, and he'll be upset if he comes back and sees that the stuff he made is being destroyed, and someone is playing with the thing he was playing with. EK looks up, and with this snarky response, he says, EK, no, my mom said I can play with it. Me, well, you see, this is the only bulldozer left, but there's a... And without even letting me finish my sentence, EM pipes in and says, EM, no, he can play with it. There's no one playing with it. He can play with it. Me, well, my brother is playing with it, and this is the last bulldozer here. EM, you'll give my babe the bulldozer. At this point, I'm getting angry, but I keep my cool for now. And I don't like being told by people I don't know what I can and can't do. Me, but this is a public place, and I can save this for my 6-year-old brother who happened to be playing with it already, and he would have been gone for no more than 45 seconds. EM, I don't care. My baby deserves that toy. At this point, I'm fed up with her bullcrap, and I stand up and I say, Me, once again, it's a pub. EM, give it to him now. You are what, like 10? You shouldn't be playing with that anyways. After that, I'm completely done. Me, 10. Yes, I know I'm a 10, but not 10 years old, and I look better than you, thank you very much. I can get aggressive when I'm mad, and I can be quite insulting. EM, what? You're not 10? And don't be racist and tell me I'm not a 10-year-old. Yes, she thought I was talking about age. Me. No, in fact, I'm 16. EM 16. That's even worse for you to be playing with kids. I give her a, what the heck are you thinking, lady? Look. Me. But these are my brothers, and tell me how that's worse. To be playing with... My dad cuts me off. I'm not using my real name. Dad, Josh, come over here, I want to talk to you. I looked at my brother and said, Me, do you want to go somewhere else? Jack, yes, please. He was on the verge of crying, and I walked him over to our dad. When we get to my dad, I start saying, Me, did I do something wrong? I was just trying to... Dad, just drop it and sit here next to me. Then he said something really unexpected. Dad, don't let the Karen get to you. I looked at him and laughed and said that I didn't know he knew that term. So that's my story. I never saw that woman again the rest of the time, and I was glad. I hope this found all of you well, and I thought I'd put my story out there. Also to Reddit or Jack, thanks for reading this, and I love your videos and podcasts, and I listen to them while playing solitaire or chess on my school Chromebook. Shout out to my wonderful grandmas and parents. They are amazing. Man, you won't believe the craziness that went down during winter break. So, my kid, let's call him Jake. He's this math whiz. I mean, the dude's got numbers running through his veins. We decided to let him join this winter camp, right? Figured it'd be cool for him to keep it brain active. Plus, he loves that stuff. Now, Jake's on the spectrum, but that doesn't make him any less of a genius. So, he's at this camp, acing every math challenge they throw at him. Kid's basically a human calculator. But here's where the drama kicks in. One day, I get a call from the camp director. Apparently, there's been an incident involving Jake and another kid's mom who's now infamous as Karen in our family. I rush over thinking it's some normal kid tip. Turns out Karen's got twins at the camp, and she's all bent out of shape because Jake outsmarted both of them. Now, instead of being a normal, reasonable adult, she decides to go ballistic. I walk into the camp and I can hear her yelling from a mile away. Your freak kid is making mine look bad. He's a math weirdo, she screeches. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Like, really, your kid's losing a math competition, and suddenly my boy's a freak. Anyway, I find Jake, and he's chilling by himself, working on some advanced calculus or whatever. He's used to this kind of thing, but I can see he's upset. Before I can even say anything, Karen marches over, eyes blazing. What's wrong with your kid? He's making mine feel stupid, she accuses, pointing a finger at Jake like he's committed some crime. I'm like, lady, it's a math camp. They're here to learn and compete. If your kids aren't winning, that's not my boy's fault. Well, she ain't having any of it. Out of nowhere, she slaps Jake on the back of the head. I'm seeing red at this point, trying to keep my cool for Jake's sake. He's a freak, a math freak. Probably cheats or something, she rants. I'm not one for confrontation, but when it comes to my kid, all bets are off. I tell Karen to back off that she can't just hit someone's kid because hers didn't get a gold star in math. The camp director steps in, thank God. But Karen's not done. She starts spouting off about how Jake must have cheated, how he's ruining the camp for everyone. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. I'm fuming. The director's looking at me like, please, control your crazy. I decide to take the high road. Tell the director to check the security cameras if she's so convinced my kid's pulling a Goodwill Hunting on everyone. Long story short, they review the footage, and surprise, Jake didn't cheat. In fact, he offered to tutor Karen's kids because he felt bad they were struggling. The camp director is furious, rightfully so. They kick Karen and her twins out faster than you can say, mathlete, but that's not the end of it. I'm not one for drama, but I had to share this tale with the good folks of Reddit. It's like a cautionary story. Don't mess with the math genius or his dad will get you banned from winter camp for life. So, there you have it, the saga of the entitled Karen who tried to throw hands with a math prodigy. My advice, don't mess with the numbers game. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. Not sure it's going to apply here, but it's one parent, not both. Buckle up. It's going to be a long one. So like I said, I was an accident. The doctor told my mother she'll never have kids, then I came along. My dad was young. She was 6-ish years older than him. We'll leave it at that. After I was born, she actually had something to do with me. That was until she met her now current husband. She tried to tell me he was my biological dad and kept pressuring me at 2 years old that he was in fact my father. When at the same time my bio-dad had visitation every other weekend, she claimed he was just a friend. He eventually told me. My mother was livid. 2 years later, she had another kid, my half-brother, and that's when her manipulation really kicked off. At 4 years old, I was changing diapers, getting my brother dressed, even waking up in the middle of the night when he cried to make him bottles. Potty training, formula, diaper changing, etc. were up to me. She told me that this was normal and that older brothers are supposed to set an example. Meanwhile, I was off and on seeing my dad every other weekend. She hated it and would tell me that he wasn't coming to pick me up or that he didn't care. When in reality, he'd call to ask to have me on his weekend and she would flat out say no, even going as far to take me to a meetup spot that was more of a drive for my dad than it was for her, just to prove to me that he wasn't coming. This continued for several years. I'd take care of my brother, started doing small chores that lead to full-on cleaning the house, and then she got pregnant again and the cycle restarted. My second brother wasn't so bad, not as bad as my first, but I hate to say that I started to loathe them both while they had brand new shoes, clothes, etc. I got my hands down and wore shoes that the soles were falling apart. I literally had to duct tape them together just so that way I could walk in them. There's more in the in-between, but if I continued with the physical and mental abuse this woman caused me, this post would be longer than it's going to be. I'll just fast forward to when I was 13, about to be 14, when I finally had enough. At this time, I had swapped custody between my bio mother and my dad because of issues my mother causes, such as moving out of state, which at the time was against court order, and my dad made a mistake, which had been resolved by this point. Nobody's perfect. At the time, I was in homeschool, failing every class because my public school had sent me to the hospital, because although she was a stay-at-home mother, she was unreachable, and it was assumed that I had gone to school with appendicitis. I attempted to tell her before I went to school that I didn't feel good, but she said I was faking it, resulting in me staying in the hospital for 8 hours by myself until I convinced the nurse and doctor to contact my school counselor so I could go home, since I just had swelling in my lichenoids. I had my eyes open by this point, and I finally told my dad I wanted to come home and started a fight with my bio mother because I had enough. He would then call my dad and ask, "Do you effing want him?" as if I was just property to her. Needless to say, yes, he did, and after a long, awkward 2 weeks, I was shipped on a plane headed towards east. Dad had moved states too, as the state we are originally from as well, dumb on the west of the country. After a long story, too long to make it short, I came to where I call home, got my grades up and graduated. My dad remarried to this awesome woman that, although is my stepmother, I just call her Mom. And the bio, well, no one has heard anything more than a happy, insert special day here. And eventually nothing at all, and now, after 10 years, I say to this day, I'm doing better. No, it wasn't they all ride into the sunset stories because those don't exist. We had our ups and downs as any normal person would, but overall way better than the abuse I was in. I realized recently that I may have residual trauma when an innocent event made me flinch and take me back to when I was that kid that had to bow before the Highness herself. So I started therapy, and after talking to a friend, they said maybe I should post it here. There was a lot more abuse that happened to me as a child, and I may share my story and explain, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. I apologize for my story being long and maybe not making sense in places, but I want to end this with a message I have learned from this. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, and no matter what you go through, you will always find a way to grow and strengthen yourself, even when you feel weak. After all, even black sheep's wool is found useful in other aspects. I was a witness to this a long time ago, and results were learned of by word of mouth. Once upon a time, there was a kid. Let's call him Marco. Marco was your everyday kid, a little skinny. I remember him being slightly geeky. If you left your pens unattended, he'd disassemble them before you turned back around in your seat at times. He was nice, polite, and fairly helpful. This was middle school. One day, though, he does it to a bully. Let's call him Polo. Polo is huge, but with fat. He looks like if you drilled 3 holes into him, a giant could use him for bowling. He's not nice. He's not handsome. He's got a posse of equally disgusting friends who all gang up together to bully others. I suspect that if they hadn't ganged up with each other, they would have been bullied. Perhaps they had been in the past and got a taste of power over others when they ganged up. I don't know. I kept to myself. One day, I see Marco with a swollen eye and wet hair. He's limping a bit too, and his backpack is ripped. I ask him what the hell happened. Turns out Polo threw him into a bathroom stall by his backpack, which ripped. The toilet got him in the knee, and Polo shoved his face into the water, bashing his eye into the seat. I asked why Polo had done this to him, and he says I took his pen apart. It was just a Bic crystal or some cheap pen like that. Things escalate over the next few weeks. Eventually, Marco has to take time off when Polo strips him naked in the bathroom except for his boxers and makes him shove them into the toilet. The school, being full of your typical assholes, tries to expel Marco for damage to school property and does nothing to Polo. This is stopped by video evidence of the gang leaving the bathroom, laughing and rifling, through Marco's backpack, then tossing it in the trash. When Marco comes back, he's different. He's not happy. He's quiet, subdued. He doesn't talk to anyone, and bruises magically appear on him between classes. He withdraws into himself and begins to look positively skeletal. Of course, no one at the school does anything, except the one nice jock. He comes across Polo stealing Marco's backpack and folds Polo into a trash can. Of course, he's suspended, but does it again when he comes back. The teachers give up on suspending the jock after his parents threaten to sue. The fact that someone bothered to stand up for him, though, seems to have given life back to Marco. He starts opening back up and putting weight back on, which is very good. One day, though, he's wearing a scarf. A very special, beautiful knitted scarf. His grandfather had knit it for him. Yes, grandfather. Before he died. Polo steals it and comes back the next day with a bag of ashes, handing it to Marco. He laughs hysterically. Marco comes back the next day with a backpack full of sugar-free Haribo gummy bears. Polo, being the glutton that he is, steals every single bag of bears and eats them by the fistful throughout the day. Marco cries, but I remember something in his sobs didn't quite reach his eyes. Near the end of the school day, Polo lurches out of the classroom and bolts for the bathroom. He doesn't come back the next day, or the next. Someone says they saw blood in the bathroom. Polo comes back a few days later with an eye patch and mottled, fading bruising all across his face. I believe it's called petechio. He's permanently blind in his left eye, and the bruising makes him look like a ripening fruit for as long as it lasts. He's in and out of school for doctor's appointments for a while. He didn't mess with Marco again, and instead became very introverted and quiet. The reports of blood in the toilet of the bathroom he went to were never confirmed, but it's quite likely 33 female. I'm going to preface this by saying my 6-year-old daughter's father, 37, I'm going to call him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, since it makes it seem we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant, and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't do what he wanted, he sued and was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support, and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries, and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner. And finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child, it was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle, not the actual name she used, but it was that different than my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time she pretty much ignored me, but Katie didn't seem nervous, so I decided to just bid my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom, and this stranger went, "Oh, Gaby, you need potty. Let mommy change you?" My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now, and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and hold her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain or I would be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them, despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside, and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not going to give specific details on that. All I'll say it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine, it had caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently, he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me, and that's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what was his plan when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before. I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions, and I would not let that woman within miles from my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family. It's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I'm making sure he never has contact with my child. So that's what I'm bracing for. He's been blasting my phone since Christmas, but I can easily ignore him. My daughter and I are doing a small travel vacation. This isn't an update, just something I feel needs to be said. My daughter is set for life monetarily. She has a trust and I make really good money in my position. If she was 18 right now, I could put her through college without a loan. She doesn't need child support for quality of life. If I could get child support and never worry about her father trying something, I would be suing him in a heartbeat. But after talking to a lawyer and realizing the risk, I've taken the decision that child support or possible inheritance is not worth my child's safety. Safety is always first. 1/6/2024. Hey everyone. Happy New Year's. This isn't so much a real update as just letting people know we are home and safe. My daughter is spending the rest of her vacation with her godparents on another trip while I work on things. Moving might be something I'll be looking into, though that is a long-term plan considering all it takes. I won't share too many details on what my lawyer is going to be doing, but we are absolutely going to push for an RO. I might not post for some time, at least not until things settled. I do appreciate all the support and good advice. I'm taking a lot of it into account as I plan how to move forward. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.